Well, tonight, Israel is a nation in mourning. One of its founding fathers, Shimon Peres, has died. He was 93. He suffered a major stroke 2 weeks ago and passed away in the early hours of this morning in Tel Aviv. Shimon Peres was a 1994 Nobel Peace laureate. He shared that award with his own prime minister, Yitzhak Rabin, and the Palestinian leader, Yasser Arafat. Mr. Peres was a defining figure in Israeli politics and in the security of the Middle East for decades. Leaders around the world are paying tribute.
Politicians all around the world have been mourning the death of Shimon Peres. The Israeli cabinet paid tribute to the acclaimed statesman in a minute's silence.
Shimon Peres dedicated his life to the sovereignty of our people. As a man of vision, his gaze was aimed at the future. As a man of security, he fortified Israel's strength in many ways, some of which even today are still unknown. As a man of peace, he worked until his final days toward reconciling with our neighbors for a better future for our children.
As foreign minister, Shimon Peres played a key role in the Oslo Accords, a series of agreements with the Palestinians that laid the foundations for the Middle East peace process. Peres signed the first of the accords in 1993 with his Palestinian counterpart Mahmoud Abbas. One year later, Peres was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts, together with Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat and Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. Peres was in political office almost continuously for 48 years, including 2 terms as Prime Minister. He served as President of Israel from 2007 to 2014. At 90, he was the world's oldest head of state. In 2008, he received Abbas at his presidential compound, the first ever such visit by a Palestinian leader. Now mourning Israelis are praising Peres for his accomplishments.
What I love about Shimon Peres is that he was unbelievably stubborn and worked hard to achieve his goals. And where do you still find people like him?
He was a great man. He's a man of peace. He, the one who, I would say, he united the people in Israel, Arabs, Jews, Christians, everything.
But Peres was not revered everywhere. Many in the Palestinian areas, such as the occupied West Bank, see him as a contentious figure.
It's known he killed many Palestinians, despite the fact that he was a moderate leader. He has a lot of Palestinian blood on his hands from his crimes against the Palestinian nation. During his time, there was a war with Egypt, Syria, and Palestine. This man helped in building the State of Israel. And he brought the nuclear bomb into the country.
Beyond all controversy, history will remember Shimon Peres as one of the most influential leaders of Israel.
Well, I'm joined now here at the big table by Eldad Beck. He is an Israeli journalist and he is an author currently living here in Berlin. Mr. Beck, it's good to have you on the day. Shimon Peres is the last of Israel's founding fathers to pass away. What does that mean for Israel to see this man go?
It's definitely an end of a historical time. We used to have jokes about the pharaohs getting out of their tombs, and the first question they're asking is Peres still around? And we got so used to have him around that it's going to really be difficult to get used to the fact that he's not there. He was a very intellectual person. He always had an interesting opinion about the situation and was always looking towards the future. And I think the country is going to miss him a lot.
I know when I think about the first major impression I had of Mr. Peres, it was, of course, the Oslo Accords and him winning the Nobel Peace Prize. And I remember him describing the mood in Israel in 1994, early 95, as being euphoric. And there was this sense in the country that peace was possible and was real.
There was at the time a huge hope, and this is maybe one of the things that people in Israel do not forgive Shimon Peres, is that he sold Israelis illusions. He was not actually telling them that their reality might be others. He kept on telling us that the peace process is irreversible. There's only one way it can go. And then a few years afterwards, it all exploded in our faces. And today, many Israelis are very angry with the fact that Shimon Peres actually never had the courage to stand up and to say, actually, we did something wrong, we should have done it differently.
And when you say we did something wrong, are you talking about the Oslo Accords and the agreement with the Palestinians, or his support of the settlements, for example?
First of all, he and Rabin should have presented the Oslo Agreement as an experiment, not as something that is sure to have positive results. Secondly, I think that he should have had pressed the Palestinians into a situation where they should have respected the agreements they have signed on, which they haven't done until today. And this is one of the reasons that we are in the situation that we are in. The settlements were always a reaction to the fact that the Palestinians were not respecting their engagements in the framework of the Oslo Agreement. And here we are, that according to this agreement...
Well, what about the settlements, though, in the 1970s, though, Mr. Beck? I mean, at that time, Mr. Peres, he supported the settlements.
Absolutely.
But at the same time was also pushing peace. And knowing that at some point there may be a collision there.
You know, many things have changed in the Middle East in the last decades. At the time, in the 70s, he was hoping that there would be a solution with the Kingdom of Jordan, of enabling them to control the West Bank. And that was the reason that he was actually pushing the settlements, because he said, if we're going to reach an agreement with Jordan, we could divide the land, which he considered until his very last breath as land of Israel.
I have to ask you, before we run out of time tonight, you're writing a book about the German Chancellor and Mr. Peres. Yeah.
Well, actually, it's about Merkel, but she had a very strong and close connection with him. He met her when she was still chairman of the opposition, and he insisted, although he was a foreign minister, to go and meet her in her office, and they had a first chat which was very inspiring for her. She keeps on citing Peres in different occasions.
That's true.
And I believe that the relationship that they had, both of them having visions for their lands, is something that is extremely interesting. By the way, Shimon Peres played an important role in the rapprochement between Germany and Israel in the 50s and the 60s. Many people talk about Ben-Gurion and Adenauer, but actually those who were putting things into action were Shimon Peres and Franz Josef Strauss.
All right. Eldad Beck, Israeli journalist here in Berlin. Fascinating talking with you, and we will look forward to your book, too, when it comes out. Thank you very much for being on The Day.
Thank you.